Well, I don't feel like I'm a part of the everyday American society, and I don't want to be, let me tell you. Okay? I do my damnedest to tear it down.
A governor's task force has determined that punk rockers are society's new subversives and must be treated as such.
Taxation is theft.
Oh! God damn it, motherfucker!
We're talking peace, love, and honor. These governments of this world are coming to an end.
The FBI is feeling the heat.
Your own conscience, your own morality, your own decision, your own self. You alone can do it. There is no authority but yourself.
The BR Hates Fed Show. Welcome to the Rice Fields, motherfuckers.
Usually it tends to be more than an hour and a half just for editing, but
Sure. Cool.
we'll just go with it. All right. Hello and welcome to the BR Hates Fed Show. I have a great guest who I've had the pleasure of meeting in person. Unfortunately, we didn't get to chat that much at Childerberg, but we're going to make up for it now. So I am talking to Mike the Polymath, or Michael Whistler of the Easy Peasy podcast. We're going to get into some gardening stuff. So, and all sorts of liberty-related goodness.
We'll see where we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how you doing, man?
Good, man. It's funny. I've said at least a few times. It's like life after my first Childerberg ain't the same as life before.
I feel very much the same. Yeah, that was my second year, but the first was like transformational. Like like I don't know if you felt the same, but kind of going there. There's because I listened to your Childerberg episodes. If you wanna, what you did exactly what I really wanted to do when I went there this year, but I didn't have a mobile recorder, and I was also just getting so sucked into just all the great conversation that was happening there. But you were going around in your episodes and just recording. Did you have like a mobile recorder with you?
Yeah, I can show you.
It worked great. Like, just
where the hell is that? Well, I don't know where it's at, but it's a really handy little device. It's a Tascam DX90 or some shit. But they make all kinds of different ones, and they make them now. They're teeny tiny little things, and they sound great. So I'd recommend it. But it's funny because, like you said, we didn't really get a chance to hang out too much. I met you like the last night.
Yeah, you came by. Like me and my lady briefly stopped by your garden stall, but or your plants or whatever you want to call it. But and then
farm
yeah,
shop.
yes, we will definitely be touching on the agorism and how green fingers and guns go together.
Uh-huh.
But no, you dropped by Little Amsterdam at perhaps the most the most momentous few hours, which was a hell of a sight.
It was epic. You know what I did? I ordered my AR-15 like the next day.
Fuck yes,
from a friend.
That's what we like.
built it for me. So yeah, man. It was cool. I felt silly because I was camped right next to y'all the whole time, but I hadn't like wandered that way. I thought, yeah, this is like the end of camp. Like I just walked the other direction every time. I probably walked, I don't know, 20, 30 miles in 3 days.
Oh, for sure. Just walking the length of Childerberg. It was literally like a pop-up anarchist village. It was fucking incredible. And we made the mistake because we arrived at like pretty late, like 12 o'clock on the Friday night. And so it was pitch black. So we arrived and we were looking for a good spot. We couldn't see shit. We found an open space, hugged a bunch of shadow people, and then went to go and set up. And in the morning, I was like, fuck, we're like the front of the camp, which we should not be the front of the camp as you saw. Like,
hey, you know, you could look at it two ways. Maybe you should be the front of it.
No, actually, tactically, fair enough. But honestly, if Childerberg was if society as we know it, polite society as we know it, or so-called polite society as we know it, had ended, we might have to be the first camp, but as an outsider, I don't want to give anything away. Could you just paint a little bit of a picture for what you walked up to Little Amsterdam and saw?
Well, it progressed. So as I walked up, it was pretty unassuming. You know, everybody's just hanging out. I almost want to say somebody was playing music. Or,
for sure. It's a chill atmosphere.
yeah, it's chill. It's chill. Maybe a little weed in the air, whatever. Like
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And I just basically I wanted to meet everybody, like at least everybody that I could. And so like this was like kind of the last little group, and I was like, holy shit, like I really haven't met these people. And there was oh man, who all was there? I don't know. I'm just
a lot of names, man. I know.
And a lot of people that I hadn't really talked to yet. So I met all these folks. You started recording in the back of your truck, right? Your Tahoe.
Yeah. It might have been a Tahoe. I've been.
Who cares? Yeah. But you had a little like recording setup in there. You had like 6 or 8 dudes crammed into the back. You
arrived before dark.
Yeah, slightly. And then it got dark and I got progressively more drunk and you started recording, and like, it was cool, but I was like, there's so many people here. I'm not trying to butt in on this conversation. Right. And, so I kind of like wandered away, and that's when like a bunch of people started busting out their kits, and it was like, okay, right on. Like, I want to see what everybody's packing here. Like, let's see the hardware. And it was just a little show and tell, it was harmless. It was safe. It was like totally cool. Yeah, man. It was rocks, man. I'm all about it.
It was such a perfect time for you to arrive, because like what we talked about when you first got to the camp, and we were like, we'd brushed shoulders like a little bit, but that was the first time we'd properly talked. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about just everyone coming from all over the place. Like yourself, I barely introduced what you do yet, but you come from more the
I'd say the permaculture space.
Permaculture, there you go.
Some people might not know that word, so I'll say like small ag, gardening, like organic farming, homesteading, stuff like that.
Yeah, the stuff that we're all very rapidly freaking out and being like, I don't know enough about that yet.
Yeah, how do I live off grid? Holy shit, I need to figure this out. Yeah.
Like, so I can't eat bullets.
That kind of stuff.
But so we were talking about kind of the beautiful cross-contamination that was going on, and the convergence of people from all over the place, like crypto guys and militia guys, and you got your hippie gardeners and stuff, and your psychedelic warriors out there, like just all sorts of people.
Your total nomads, your
like health people.
Plenty of people who have like normal everyday jobs too.
Yep.
Who are just like switched on and like looking for a way out. So it was a total spectrum. Yeah.
Yeah. People at all sorts of different stages in their journey, and all sorts of different skill sets, and all sorts of different disciplines and routes into this stuff. And that was, so I really wish we could have sat down at Childeberg, but
yeah, man, it's hard. It's hard.
It's so hard. There's so many people you want to chat with, and so many people coming through. And like, because that was my second year. My first year, I got a bit more of an opportunity, like I think you did, where I could be more of a fly on the wall, because I was introducing myself to people. Mm-hmm. Whereas this year, everyone's like, "Oh, BR," and I'm like, "All right, well, I love talking to you, but now we got to sit down for like half an hour. I'm gonna get stoned and drunk, like, and then I'm not talking to like half the people I want to, but."
My whole thing was like, I'm just going to flow with it and go wherever I go and talk to whoever I talk to. Obviously would have loved to have gotten you on that Childeberg episode, but like, it was kind of cool because, as many podcasters as there were there, you could try to like interview all the podcasters, or you could just talk to everybody and like see what anybody might have to offer,
that's and so like you did exactly what I wanted to do, which was go around and get like a little bite of everything, which was perfect. Like I love those 2 episodes that you did. And then so what I did, kind of failing that, because I was like, last day on Sunday I was like, oh fuck, I need to record a podcast or record a bring people on afterwards. That's not as fun.
Yeah.
But so instead of being like, oh, I need to go and grab like Bird and Carr and Rollo and all the podcast people, as you said, although you did get you got campers and the characters on, which I liked, but
a little bit of both, I guess. I had
a bunch of first time Childebergers there, and I don't know if that's the term we're going for. I keep on saying Childerburgers, but it
I want
doesn't
to
sound...
say my Childerburger.
Oh, Christ.
Or some shit. I mean, you got to just embrace it, right? It's goofy as fuck, but like...
No, it is. That's kind of the fun. Like, when everyone hears the term Childerberg, they're like, oh, Jesus, what kind of freak show is this? And it is a freak show, but the most delightful kind.
But it's definitely not a cult, so...
Yeah, definitely not a cult, but bring more people. Bring more people.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping I can talk a few of my Hoosier buds into coming down. For the uninitiated, a Hoosier is somebody from the great state of Indiana.
I heard you using that term, and I was like, that's a new one for me. That's have to add that to the vernacular.
Across the pond, yeah. Ireland?
No.
No.
I've got the Irish attitude, but unfortunately, I was born on the wrong side, England.
I've got a terrible ear for accents. So
No, it's all right. As many of my listeners have pointed out, my accent is completely fucked at this point because I've been over here years.
Kind of ambiguous, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a transatlantic like fuckfest at this point. No one. My girlfriend's American, so she's whittling away at me, and then she'll just repeat an English accent back to me at times. I'm like,
funny, man. Well, I can relate because I've lived in I've lived in rural Colorado, rural Utah, rural Indiana, and then like urban Indiana, and so I have a little bit of everything, and depending on my level of intoxication, different dialects seem to come out, you know.
Oh yeah, if you get me fucked up, I'll speak with my local East Anglian accent.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But no, like Childerberg was literally probably one of the best times I've ever had. Not probably, like definitely one of the top 2 or 3 best fucking times I've ever had. And you know, I probably never, like I said, I kept using the word convergence. I actually listened to your recent episode and I fucking dug it, first of all, but
I appreciate that.
You use the term again here, cross contamination, which is one way of saying it. I like cross pollination, man.
No, that sounds a lot better. I'm just that's my punk vocabulary. Everything has to be disgusting and fucked up.
It's got to be toxic or whatever.
Yeah.
But
no, pollination is much better.
Cross-pollination, man. These are different communities converging and like cross-pollinating and sharing their little bits of wisdom, you know?
Yeah.
And the fact that everybody was just, I kept saying it, but everybody's starting at this like level, right? We all agree on the basic rule, right? The voluntarism rule, or whatever you want to call it. We agree on,
don't fuck with other people.
Don't tread on me, motherfucker. Right?
Yeah.
You know, and from there you can just talk about anything and like have it be productive and respectful, and like tons of conspiracy theories being thrown around, but like people straight up objecting, being like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let you just like shoot anything out there, you know, like. So it was cool, man. But like everybody's in good spirits the whole time, like no drama. It was kick ass.
Yeah, it's truly like finding your tribe, and it's the wildest feeling because like I think basically anyone listening to this or anyone in our space has been a black sheep on some level at some point in their lives, if not most of their lives. Mm-hmm. And so suddenly, like, because you said you hadn't been to any festival like this before, right?
I mean, the closest thing I'd been to is like this badass bluegrass festival, which was actually the following weekend. And I didn't go to it because I had Self-Reliance Fest the weekend after that. I had like 2 festivals already in a month. But this one particular little bluegrass fest that I've gone to the last 3 or 4 years has a total anarchy vibe.
Like outlaw country kind of stuff?
Yeah, man. But like it's known as the most laid back festival in the country.
Wow.
And like, you know, I mean, it's a self-proclaimed tag.
I was like, it's like when you're a little
Rolling
like
Stone didn't say that. Like,
little rinky-dink pizza shop in the middle of nowhere is like world's best pizza, and you're like, fuck, how'd they do that?
It's a cool festival, man, because it's like it's capped at 2,000 people. It's in like a wooded setting, and not so dissimilar from Childerberg, except like way greener and way taller trees and much more of that cathedral.
Oh no, proper in the woods with cloaks vibes. I like it.
Well, no cloaks. A bunch of dreadheads and like patchouli smelling motherfuckers smoking dope and listening to bluegrass, and campfires and jams going all night long, just like at Childerberg, except instead of jams, it was conversation, like pretty heady conversation a lot of time, but like super goofy and just fucking around at the same time, right?
Oh yeah, it'll go from, I mean, Christ, Spirit Resistance, the big guy. You might have met him.
Mm-hmm. Well, he was the name I was trying to. Spirit of SOR, yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to remember his name.
I make so much fun of him, and he listens sometimes. So hopefully he hears this. But he has a habit of holding court. He'll go in like, oh, I'm not going to debate anyone. I'll come back to him like however many beers it takes him, and he's like debating 6 people, and like I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, just chill.
Yeah.
I love it though. If you want that kind of conversation, or if you want to just fuck around or whatever it is, like it's available.
It reminds me almost of like locker room chats or whatever.
You're gonna get us in trouble.
I said, but like more mature and more, but like that whole like that machismo of like we're joking, but we're also being quite serious at the same time.
Yeah,
like
we're all on a level.
We're on a certain. Yeah, we're all on a team, first of all. That's what it felt like. That's why I say locker room. It's like we're all on the same team.
Yeah.
And, there's a little bit of that, like I said, machismo, bravado, like joking around, but like at the same time, we're getting at something real. Like we're not taking this seriously.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it's a very different environment, like I was saying, to what most of us will have ever experienced. Like being able to talk so openly about so many complex and like out there ideas, and just talk about like things that fascinate us, like homesteading and self-reliance and stuff, to so many people, and everyone being like, "Yeah, man, that's so cool."
Yeah.
It's otherworldly. But you've had, I guess, a hell of a lot of experience now that you've done Childerberg, Self-Reliance Fest, and you done anything else since then?
Not really, man. I've been catching up on work.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
And sleep, to be frank, dude. I slept so much in the last week or two. Like, it looks like you haven't slowed down one bit, though. I've been keeping up with what you've been up to, man.
It's
wild.
No, it was a busy few weeks since Childerberg. I was like, oh Christ, we're really doing all of this? Okay, fine, fuck it,
let's go. Yeah,
while we're young, right? But
there is an urgency. Like I even though I slowed down, caught up on things, I'm fired up right now, man, because we got to get this done.
No, this is why when we were like, oh, talking about coming on the show, you're like, yes.
How about tonight?
Yeah. I was like, I feel very much on a level with where you're at, with this kind of urgency to what we're talking about, and because it's not like nothing's gonna be complete, nothing's gonna be ready. So, like for preppers, like until you have a converted, nuclear missile silo with like 200 years of supplies, none of us are going to consider ourselves ready. So the big thing is spreading the knowledge.
You just hit at the heart of it, though, with that image. I think that image is like almost false and just like misguided. So I think what the core of this conversation might be is that what I advocate for is way more like local alternative economics, right? Counter economics, like we practiced at Childerberg, like hella agorism, barter trade, like between you, me, and the fence post, other denominations make you comfortable. And like what we need are networks of skilled people.
Yes.
We don't need bunkers. Maybe we need a couple of bunkers.
Yeah. See, like, there you go. That's the prepper in you. You're like, all right, never say never. But maybe just like still gotcha. But no, absolutely. No, what you're saying is the heart of the issue here, which is community building and like building those networks and knowing people instead of just having like a bunch of screen names that, when the internet goes out, you're kind of fucked. You're like, oh, they had a good video on, making a, I don't know, greenhouse or whatever. And you're like, oh, well, fuck.
I really wish I would have gotten a couple of those guys, like, I don't know, addresses, phone numbers. I don't know. Like, maybe we should have gotten radio comms up, like Ham, and like, that's what I'm saying is there's a convergence of communities. So what we need to do is make friends with the Ham guys.
Yep.
So that we can ideally have networks of communication that we have sort of, already figured out before that day comes, if it comes,
Yeah. And there were, and this is not the Doomsday podcast, but we live in fucking scary times, and
there's no doubt.
Yeah. So we definitely had a couple ham radio guys, like Carl Campit, one of the Timeline Earth guys. He came on our show a while back and did a whole talk about ham radios and stuff and how to get into them. But yeah, it's a little bit daunting. There's so many skills out there. Yeah,
there's a lot. Yeah, and so in a nutshell, that's why I always advocate, like, the first thing you can do is plant a little garden if you have a space. So it's a very simple thing to do. It's not that hard. Hence the name Easy Peasy. Like, all this other stuff, like I said, there's people who are already experts.
Yeah.
And, I'll tell you, like, some of the people I met at Self-Reliance Fest are tackling these problems. Like, there were people there selling devices to protect your truck or your house from EMPs. There was a moonshiner. There, blacksmith.
We had one at our camp at Gilderberg. A moonshiner. You try any of his stuff?
I did. He's not quite a moonshiner. I mean, he makes hooch. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, okay. Is that some technicality I'm too European to understand?
Moonshine, typically high proof grain alcohol. That white lightning. So at Childeberg we had more of a viticulturist. Although he doesn't use grapes, that's grapes. That's a wine thing. But whatever you want to call a mead maker, I guess.
Oh no, I was talking about. We had a guy at our camp. One of the guys in the Hawaiian shirt with the heart sunglasses on his plate carrier.
He's a moonshiner, huh?
Yeah. You didn't try any of his stuff?
I don't think I did. I feel like I remember somebody mentioning it, but I don't think I tried it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Damn, that's a shame. We'll have to bug him next year because I'm sure he's going to be down.
I tell you, in a shit hits the fan scenario, people are not going to stop drinking.
Oh no, and that's one of the most valuable things you can have to trade. Cigarettes and booze.
Yep.
Like
cannabis, bullets.
Oh no, seriously. Like, Christ, if I lose all the seeds, all the plants, and all my weed, I might just be shooting people.
Speaking of which, I might light up here. I don't know how you feel about that, but
no, I big fan. I honestly, I wish more gun owners were pot smokers than drinkers.
It's funny. I maybe shouldn't even say this, but when I applied for fuck it, because constitutional carry just passed in my state and it goes into effect the 1st of July. So I'll say it. I don't give a fuck. On my application to get my concealed carry license, there was a question that specifically asked, "Are you a user of cannabis?" What do you think I said?
Well, that's a very loaded question.
Well, it seemed like it to me. I said, I won't say what I said. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's silly. The founders enjoyed the stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, man, yeah.
They were out there. I mean, Christ, they were probably out there dueling each other because they ran out.
Like, this motherfucker's sitting on the last nug, man.
Yeah.
No.
But I don't know. It's one of those silly things. Like, I think the future is hippies with guns.
Well, it cracks me up because I hear that, like, a lot of jujitsu guys smoke a lot of grass, Yeah.
Like, well, if you get the fuck beaten out of you just practicing, absolutely, you're going to be sore as hell.
Well, I think they say that a little bit before the match, it helps them kind of
loosen up.
No? Yeah. It loosens them up or whatever. So, no, man, I don't think warriors should hide from this stuff.
I 100% agree, man. Like, some of my favorite stuff that I've been kind of unearthing recently. There's you ever seen the old videos of some guy shotgunning out of a shotgun in Vietnam,
like smoking weed through it?
Yep.
I feel like I've seen that. Wasn't that in Full Metal Jacket or some shit?
I think it's like some archived footage. I'm not sure. Well, maybe
it might be in. I think it's in Platoon. But I'm sure you probably saw a real clip. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Done in one of those.
For all I know, I just saw a clip from Platoon. And I thought it was cool as fuck. I'm uncultured, but we're working on it. Yeah. But no, I absolutely agree. I mean, Christ, you think like you know, a few hundred years ago they gave a shit about that stuff. Like, I mean, Christ, the Germans were giving their soldiers meth, you know? Like, a little bit of pot's not going to hurt a gun owner.
No. You know, it kind of actually pissed me off to see it on the forum. I'm like, that's discrimination, motherfucker.
Quite right. Seriously.
You know, like, I'm a responsible goddamn citizen. Fuck you. You know?
Well, at this stage in time, all of that stuff makes me laugh so much. Like, whenever I see new gun law stuff coming up at this point, I'm like, does it really matter? Like, we're like toying with going into freefall right now. Are we really going to, as respectful citizens, agorists, are we really going to listen to any of this? Of course not. It comes out and you're like, that is insultingly dumb and inconsistent. So no. And that is really the future. I mean, just with Childeberg growing and interest in these kind of events growing and interest in self-reliance of all descriptions growing, people are really kind of past the point of being like, oh, let me keep up to date with the newest law. Now it's like, that's dumb.
Let me ask permission. No, let's just do what we got to do. And I see a lot of parallels. I loved, like I said, that episode you did about outlaw gun culture, because I see parallels with the food culture right now. Like, the small ag community is fed up.
Yeah.
Fed up, man. They're fed up with the USDA, the FDA. They're like, get the fuck out of our business. You know, these are small, like, you know, organic, grass-fed, whatever you want to call it, good quality food. And these guys have to jump through all the same hoops as the big guys. And the big guys designed the hoops, right? So
yeah. It's a good game.
It's no different. I mean, it's a basic human right to be able to feed yourself, right? Like, by whatever means you choose, right? Eat at your own risk. The whole thing about all these food safety laws is it's a tyranny that most people don't even consider. You know, all these requirements for packaging and processing, it really cuts the knees out from under, like, the small rancher or the small farmer. You know, a lot of times you'll go to the farmer's market and you'll buy stuff and it'll be labeled not for human consumption, just as like a wink, you know, about agorism, like, you know, raw milk. There's been a 30-year long battle over raw milk in this country. You know, I met a guy who is literally a raw milk bootlegger, or we'll say. He would cross state lines with raw milk to sell it in Chicago, where it was against the law. He'd come down from Wisconsin with all this raw milk and sell it to people who, you know, thought they were lactose intolerant, and turns out, no, they just, their body doesn't agree with homogenized, pasteurized, fucking 2% milk, man. Like, they need single cow raw milk.
Yeah. What a concept.
Yeah, and it's no different than the right to keep and bear arms, like the right to procure food from the sources that you so choose. You know, it's a similar, you know, it's self-defense, it's self-preservation, it's survival.
Well, they're all animal things. I mean, an animal has claws or fangs or talons or whatever, and just as much as it has a fucking mouth so it can feed itself, you know,
right.
and instincts. But the current way they're trying to squeeze the culture is obviously against, you know, the individual, and we're you know, very, very blatantly clamping down on people who are trying to be independent of the wider thing and really trying to stomp out that last bit of kind of frontier lifestyle, wherever it is, even in the city or whatever. They're trying to make it so you're terrified of the risk of that, and, you know, they want good consumers. And obviously I'm preaching to the choir here, but that's about where we're at. You know, so many people, it's like a war of attrition almost. Like, if they just outlast all the people doing their own thing and making things happen for themselves by just pushing and pushing and pushing and making it more and more and more difficult and more hoops for you to jump through. Mm-hmm. Like, they think they can just, I mean, you know, done it with guns, doing it with food, doing it with all of these rights, anything that is important to the individual, they're making sure you outsource it and making sure there's no way to do it for yourself. And we're like, I don't know. a lot of people are kind of sensing this end of an era where people are starting to recognize that. And it's funny because accidentally, I don't want to jump too far into the politics here, but currently we have, like because politics suck. But we just had 2 years of vaccine stuff, and so the right are like, well, no, actually, I'm in charge of my own body. And now, ironically, kinda, we have the Roe v. Wade thing, and I saw your thing going to the. I didn't listen to it, but.
And I went and basically interviewed some pro-choice folk, and I came at them like from a very non-judgmental, non-aggressive, like basically I just said, hey, like, I'm just curious to ask you about one particular thing. I said, like, are people here, or are you guys in particular thinking about whether or not this whole my body, my choice thing applies to vaccination? And they all seemed kind of like caught off guard by it, which I found surprising, because it's like in my meme sphere, there was tons of stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, it's just like that's the only fucking thing, because it's so obvious. Like, we had 2 years of that.
But, I spoke to some people, and like, some people were like, whatever.
Like, fuck you, dude.
And then other people were like, well, come to think of it, like, if we're going to say that for this, we should also say it for that. I'm like, exactly,
Yeah.
Got to be consistent here. But no, like, all politics aside, I mean, not really aside, but like, I'm not afraid to talk politics with folks. I tend not to cover current events or like politics much on my show.
Oh, yeah.
But when I see something so blaring, and when I see an opportunity, frankly, to go out in the streets and just like talk to people and like let them speak their mind and let you make up your mind based on what they say, I don't even provide a whole lot of context or editorializing. I just give it to you as it is, and you can just hear some people have thought it through more than others.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't think most people have thought it through.
Well, yeah, a lot of people are being forced to confront consistency or die on their hill. and the reason I bring up politics, because Agorists should hate politics and kind of think of it as irrelevant, more or less.
I'm anti-political. Basically.
Yeah, no, likewise. But it's important to keep a little bit of an eye on it, because right now it is creating an opportunity to, as you went out and were kind of talking to people, have that talk about consistency. And there's this cultural moment too where a lot is on the table and kind of being put out there in a way that it hadn't been before, where there's so much hypocrisy and so much of one side doing one thing and the other side copying it. And, with so many people being plugged into the politics these days, I think it's kind of revealed how ugly it all is to a lot of people that were not paying attention at all to, shit like during the Iraq War and everything. People were like blinders on, but now that everyone's become so political, they're like, oh, this is awful. And now it's gone like so much more crazy because of that.
You can't ignore it. It's like right there in your face. It's so obvious, and it's impacting our lives now. That's the difference. Gas is fucking $5 plus. So, I think it's important not to mistake like public discourse for politics, right?
Yeah.
Politics is the people who curate power from like a collective agreement, right? I guess I don't know offhand the exact definition of politics, but I assume
no, you're right. You're right. Like there is like
public discourse, like that's a whole different thing. And talking about issues is not necessarily politics, right? Politics might play into it because of the system that we're in. But I get annoyed because people would be like, "Can we not talk politics?" It's like we're not. We're talking about our lives. Like,
that's very fair.
We're talking about what's happening. I mean, do you want to ignore what's happening? Like,
yeah. Well, so many people. There's like kind of that last little group who are trying to keep their head in the sand. It's like, I'm sorry, buddy. like, have you seen the price of fucking food and gas? No, you gotta come out and face the music. And
I hate to say it, it's an addiction to comfort. I've said it a bunch of times, but people are so hooked on comfort and stability that even though all the sirens and bells and whistles and warning signs are flashing, it's they refuse to accept it because they can still turn on the tube and watch,
subscription thing of choice.
watch I Love Lucy or their fucking CSI or whatever gets them off,
Yep. My favorite. Oh my god, I've got a few people at work that watch. I don't know. They just seem like generic, like pod people shows, like the kind of basic network dramas about cops or like firefighters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like I'll hear like coworkers talking about like, oh, did you see that most recent episode of whatever cop show? I'm like, Jesus, what a way to live your life, man.
I mean, I can't judge because I did it like for a long time,
Yeah.
But honestly, the TV doesn't get turned on much anymore. Like there's too much else to worry.
Yeah.
Not worry. Like there's too much else
done.
Yeah. Guess taking us back to the urgency thing, and like I really think people are starting to wake up to the fact that food matters, and man, I'm concerned. I'm concerned because I'm afraid of hungry motherfuckers.
Yeah. It's not just going hungry yourself. It's always the people with these things. Like, what are the people gonna do? Like, you might be fine in a crisis.
Which is why I connect to like it's not just gardens. And it's not just guns, it's both. Like, gotta be both, because if you can't defend your garden, it ain't gonna stay yours,
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you've only got bullets, well, good luck raiding gardeners and the rest, But
well, and you're more clearly the gun guy, right? I'm just getting into it. I mean, I bought my 22 like 4 years ago, hunted some squirrel, like bought a 12 gauge, still haven't shot my first deer, but I will. But like the AR, this friend of mine kept telling me, you got to get it, get your rifle, man. Like get it before it's too late. And I kept kind of like not wanting to believe him. Right. So I can still relate.
Well,
I can.
why
The denial was still here for me for a while. I just don't want to accept that I really need that.
Oh, are you like? Is it coming from like more of the? And I would no judgment, completely empathize, but more the hippie kind of thing. Like I don't want a rifle to kill people because I don't want to.
I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. But
yeah,
maybe I have to be.
Yeah, it's a fucking like personally. Living and growing up in England, I wish I could have carried at fucking 16, but I don't know. Like I definitely feel the same way, and something a good friend of mine talks about a lot is like kind of Taoism and all of that. Like, and something we talk about a lot is peaceful, not harmless, and kind of the mindset of being, like this is a last resort. I have zero interest in it. It's not a fucking fantasy, but I'm gonna be good with it. I'm gonna know my shit.
You have to be, man. Like I had an altercation recently. I talked about it on my show.
Shit.
Motherfucker put a dent in my truck by sitting on the hood taking a selfie. Being a jackass. It's an old truck. I love my old truck. Like,
no, you gotta fight for your lady. That's
man.
That's quite all right.
So I got real shitty, but like the whole time I'm thinking, don't be too much of an asshole.
Yeah.
I basically had to speak my piece, and I tried to get $50 in restitution because he damaged my shit.
Put his ass in your fucking truck.
Yeah. I'm like, that doesn't belong to you. That belongs to me, motherfucker. And but anyways, like he started wanting to fight me. His friends bailed, and he wanted to fight me. And I just put my hands up. I said, you better just walk away. Like I didn't say it, but like he's got fists. I hope he doesn't have anything else, but I've got plenty. And it's like, back up,
Yeah.
We're done here. Like, since you're not going to apologize, you're not going to make it right. Fucking go along. Cause I'm not going to call the cops, but like, fuck off.
Yeah. If you mind me asking, and if you don't want to answer, no worries. But were you carrying at the time?
Yeah. That's the whole point.
Okay. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, so many people ignorant to kind of the mentality you have when you're carrying is you have to be the nicest guy in the room. Like, and you,
even when you have every reason not to.
Yeah. Someone's putting their fucking finger in your chest. You're like, I don't want to fucking blow your head off, dude. That is the worst day of my life. Like, don't.
Right. Well, frankly, I'll let a guy beat me up. I mean, I'll fight back, but if he beats me dead to rights, I'll let him beat me up before I kill him. You know, like that's me. You know, I hope he doesn't beat me within an inch of my life. But I actually have friends, you know, across the street. It wouldn't have lasted. You know, I wasn't afraid of him.
Yeah.
He wasn't that big of a threat. He was kind of a spindly ass motherfucker.
Yeah. But. It's all about controlling the situation, not escalating it, but also not, you know, like if someone wrongs you, you can't just like
can't take it necessarily. It's a hard thing though. Like I said, I don't know, man. Can't just let somebody disrespect your property, but you gotta walk on eggshells with these assholes, and it sucks.
Well, yeah, I mean, Christ,
it is what it is. I'm not trying to plead my case in front of a judge.
Yeah. It's like the guy sat on my truck and then it escalated to me shooting him. Like, great. Thank you, asshole.
Yeah. The only way I would have even considered drawing is if he pulled a blade or a gun, you know. But like I said, I'm glad I had the experience. It was a good trial run, but these days, man, I just figure it's not going to be the last time, you know?
That is the thing. And like, that's why it's so important to have that kind of mentality of de-escalation, because you have no idea how crazy something like that could get, you know, like it could go from 0 to 100 like that. And life is so precious. Living is so precious. Like, fuck all of that nonsense over pride or when the wrong is not, you know, worth that kind of.
Exactly. I mean, he didn't kill somebody I know. He didn't kill somebody I know. He sat on my truck, big.
Yeah. Fuck this asshole, get out of here.
What the fuck? And that's what it was. Is like, time for you to walk away. You know?
Yeah.
But anywho, let's get back to
No. I just had to jump into it a little bit just because I think that's an important learning experience for anyone listening, and
no doubt.
But so I guess as I was talking about right before we started, like I really want to bridge my gardeners and my gun guys, and it started. There's tons of gun guys out there who are already like, you know, full blown agorists, doing their thing, doing the mutual aid stuff, and that's killer. But I want to get more and more of them on, and so many people. There was like a decent wave of it, like I think before COVID, or maybe the early part of it when people had time to kind of like invest. But now everything's so go, like grinding just to keep their head above water. But there's still that nagging, like, you know, I need to get on that. I need to start learning. So do you have any kind of advice for someone just starting into it from mostly a place of ignorance? They just know they need some kind of way to add to, you know, it's not going to be 100% of their food, but it's going to be something.
Well, I guess, okay, so the most practical thing, truthfully, is to start going to the farmer's market and start building relationships with your local producers. Because you can only do so much. I don't care who you are, how much land you got. If you're just getting started, forget about growing at all. Like, you know, forget about it. If you are genuinely just wanting to start a garden, like a little herb garden, couple tomatoes, you know, that's great. I think it's awesome. But truth be told, I think you're almost better off starting with chickens. Like, fuck plants. Get some eggs coming in, because that's real food.
And value for trading.
Absolutely. Getting 10 or 20 birds, whatever, you know, even if you're like in a city, a lot of times you can have like 6 or 8. And that's 6 to 8 eggs every day.
Yeah.
I mean, so chickens are awesome. Like a little bit of a veggie garden's cool, but like, I think people need to think about growing. I'm kind of almost moving beyond just gardening. Like, I think we need to learn how to grow the food that our food eats.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was just gonna ask about like how feeding the chickens long term, but
Yeah. So in a grid down, like shit hits the fan situation, like feed stores are not an option. So there are ways to grow everything that your livestock needs and provide it for them and make their lives awesome and like have it be pretty self-contained. I think anytime you're thinking in terms of I'm going to grow all of my produce, it's like, yeah, you actually can do that fairly easily. That's not that much. Lettuce, tomatoes, onions, carrots, veggies are pretty simple, but like instead of growing your vegetables, you really need to grow your proteins and your fats. And so if you have land, it's like look into permaculture design, look into sort of like food and fodder trees. So white mulberry, if you have any amount of land, plant some white mulberry because everything eats white mulberry. And you can use that shit as pig feed, chicken feed, like it's incredible. There's a million different techniques. Like I can't give anybody a silver bullet. But I would say if you're really interested, like get some books on permaculture. I'm thinking Gaia's Garden is a good start. As cheesy and simplistic as it is, Square Foot Gardening breaks down like how to do raised beds, simple vegetable production, just puts it into nuts and bolts. I'm looking up here, but I could give you 20 books. I'm not gonna, but just Google permaculture, like watch some YouTube, fuck Google, like find some better way to search. They probably good stuff. But it's a whole like system of design, systems based thinking is what I advocate. And breaking down problems is not easy, but like solutions are always simple. That's what I'm convinced of. You have to just find the simplest solution to the problem, which takes some time and takes some figuring out.
Well, yeah, I mean,
sorry.
No, I love it. If it's gonna be sustainable, it does have to be simple, and that's, I think, kind of what should be the great relief for all preppers, because that's kind of true of most things. Like if it's super complicated, it's not going to be sustainable for you. So simplify it, make something that's a bit more foolproof long term. That happens for like every kind of discipline within the prepper umbrella. I think there's got to be a fallback and a contingency.
Yeah, well, and a lot of it's pretty basic, like common sense stuff. It's what you're already thinking about. I need water. I need fuel. I need food. And sort of these zones of design, permaculture breaks it down into 5 zones where you just start at zone 1 and you work your way out. And I won't kind of give it away any further than that. But the whole point is one step at a time. Like, don't get overwhelmed. If you've already bought the guns, like maybe put the guns down for a minute, pick up the hoe. And like
warrior in the garden, AR's coming with me.
Yeah. Well, and if you don't have land, think about like people that might let you garden.
Yeah, do some community gardening.
If you build that relationship, be like, hey, I want to have a garden. Like, I don't have the space, but I would do it here if you'd let me. And you can have all the stuff you can shake a stick at, like, but I just need the space. And that's a good way to get started. Practice. It's almost better, man. Like practice on somebody else's property. Like fuck up their shit first.
There you go. That's the message. No. That's how I grew up. Hunting was going around and asking landowners permission if me and my dad could go and hunt, like take care of some deer for them. And I'm sure just the same. Like, hey, do you want like you've got acres and acres and acres, and you're probably old and crippled and can't see half of it. Like, do you mind if I grow some stuff on it? And if you just build some trust and approach them, friendly, and maybe, I mean, depending on what part of the country you're in, maybe don't come in your Grateful Dead shirt, but.
Well, yeah, you already, like, you kind of need, like, some base level of relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. But It's not that hard, actually. Some people have made a lot of money on really small plots of land, like leasing it from neighbors in urban kind of environments where, you know, you're just leasing a front yard and putting up a little like greenhouse and producing as much food out of that greenhouse as possible. And you know, I've heard of people making like $150,000 on like an acre. You know,
I believe it.
Yeah,
people do incredible stuff with small spaces.
Yeah,
like there's someone you should probably follow on Instagram. They're very much up your alley, and they were very much kind of someone who has their foot in both the gun space and the gardening space. They go by Wishabish Wood, and I think they're in Oregon, and they do a whole lot on. I can't remember for the life of me if it was half an acre, or 5 acres, but something like that. I think it was half an acre or something. But they do incredible stuff with just that tiny bit of space, like so much self-produced food, you know, meat, plants, all the good stuff. It's like it doesn't take much, and like you said, if you don't have the land yourself, I mean, that's what community is for, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to say the guy I'm thinking of that really made a lot of money in the city, like on small plots. I believe that was Curtis Stone, and he's on YouTube. Like, you can just copy his system. Very low overhead to get going. Like, you just have to do it. Take some hustle. But I think he did it all like out of a bicycle. Like, he would just pedal around the city, like to all these little micro farms, you know?
Yeah. Like, once you, that's a surprising thing. Like, no matter where you are in the country, you'd probably be surprised by just how much is already established around you. Like, you don't have to go and, you know, build the ark or whatever. Like, it's out there. There's so much mutual aid and community and like farmers market, co-op kind of deals already out there.
Yeah. I mean, community gardens are like always looking for volunteers. So if you want to get plugged in with people, that's a good way to start. It is going to be more of the hippie types though. You know, that's the thing is like, the hardest part's going to be bringing these groups together even more. Cause I think the ones that are already together are like the most switched on, like, but like there's huge numbers of people that are in these different communities that are not quite trustworthy, you know?
No, absolutely.
Everybody else, like, they're not quite ready to trust. When I say they're not trustworthy, I mean they're not ready to trust everybody else. Is what I'm trying to say.
No, 100%. Like, when we were, I think, first mentioning some hippie stuff earlier, I'm sure half my audience was delighted, and the other half are like, for fuck's sake, like, yeah, we get
parts like hippie, redneck, cowboy, and like suburbanite. I was raised as a suburbanite, but like I've taken on all these different personas, and I'm not afraid to admit, like, I've kind of built a personality out of what I like, man. Like,
well, as it should be, right?
Some years to figure that shit out, but like, yeah, I didn't want to be that fucking sheltered suburban kid forever. You know, I was like, let's get out and fucking live a little bit, you know, tear it up, fucking get her done, you know?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the beautiful thing about this loose liberty movement and all community as well, is like, you do have the gun guys getting a little bit uncomfortable with only knowing guns and being like, fuck, I'm gonna have to go talk to the hippies. And then they're like, you know, you talk to a few of them at events like Childeberg or whatever, and you're like, these people are like me, just without the tactical vest and AR. Like, very much on a level, you know?
This hippie carries a snubby 38 special. Like,
I love it. That's,
you know, like,
that's the future. That is the future.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with like making friends that aren't just like you.
No, 100%. Like, for all the talk of individualism, there's a lot of like you to different groups. It's like, come on, man.
You just say it can be cliquey at times, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's like
liberty movement, but it's where people come together. I'm convinced. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it outside of, like I said, maybe a music festival where people are just naturally like anarchistic because they're all just there for the music. But like when you take it beyond just entertainment or like having a good time and you take it up a notch
to a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And like, I'd encourage anybody that's listening to this to go and listen to my self-reliance episodes, maybe before listening to the Childerberg episodes. Way more practical, man.
Yeah.
Really cool knowledge in there. I said that Self-Reliance Fest had a similar vibe, like a similar wavelength, vibration,
but kind of more experienced or more knowledgeable.
More knowledgeable, more based in the sharing of knowledge. Like that was the whole thing, is there were speakers from 10 a.m. to 5, right? You know, back to back to back, and just like you could just soak it in like a sponge. People talking about making badass compost, you know, raising the healthiest chickens you can. You know, like I said, there were moonshiners, there were blacksmiths, there were all these like, you know, 3D printer geeks, like crypto nerds, you name it. It was Childerberg, but with more instruction and less psychedelic. Allegedly.
Yeah, the entertainment or the reason Childerberg exists is very much to chill, and then the education that happens is kind of like just circumstantial from a bunch of people.
Organic.
Like, gathering together. But it's cool that there's more skill-centric and educational kind of festivals out there. Like, have you ever heard of the Rogue Food Conference at
I meant to bring it up. I meant to bring it up earlier because it's so in line with like the 2A stuff. When I was talking about how the farmers are fed up, I went to Rogue Food last summer.
Oh, okay, you might have been there at the same time. One of the contributors to my Substack, State of Appalachia.
Really?
I might have really fucked up that pronunciation. I always do. I always guess the wrong one. But anyway,
hey, you said it okay. Appalachia.
Ugh.
I don't know. How are you?
He gives me shit no matter what because I always fuck it up. But he wrote an article on it, Learning to be Rogue. It was August 2021. So
that might have been the same one. There's two every summer. I can't remember if it was in August specifically, but that it very well probably was.
The one he was at, Thomas Massey spoke at.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So
it was rad. It was rad, man. It, like I said, it's all these farmers that are just. It's like, I bet you 5-10 years ago they might not have considered anarchism, but now they're just like, well, shit, fuck, this is all that makes.
Yeah.
If you can't beat them, fucking work around them, motherfucker. You know?
Yeah.
Just joining them. We ain't gonna join them.
Just naturally, they're like, I don't really like the boot that keeps on kicking me in the face.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna work against it.
For real. Like,
or around it, more peacefully.
People talked about working building like food churches, right? Like
a food church.
Let's make it religious, man. Don't tell me what beef I can't eat. Right? Like, this is my religious beef. This is my sacred beef. This is blessed by the empress of the church. I forget what she calls herself, but the lady that came up with this idea of a food church, she says like the high priestess. That's what it is. High priestess of the food church. She blessed this cow. Like, fuck you and your FDA and your USDA.
Yeah, how we have prepared it is wholly and important to us.
Yes. And even less extreme than that, even just private food clubs, like, members only grocery stores. Like, you can get away with stuff. Not that it's getting away with it.
No, but it's a workaround.
It's a loophole. Yeah.
I love that stuff. Like that, those kind of things are very much, I think, contained at the minute, like within just the people who are actually going out and, learning the stuff in person. I haven't seen too much external from it, which is why I like people like yourself and my friend, going there and writing up and bringing back the information for us. But that stuff really needs to just be exploding right now because it needs to get out there.
Yeah, I think it kind of is. Like,
oh, no. Yeah, we're
a little at a time. I see all these little like TikToks of like, here's how you start your garden. And
yeah.
I should be the guy making that shit. I just don't have the patience. I don't know. I'd rather talk about big stuff. And I'm trying to build a business where I can pay some other guy to make cheesy videos. Like, but point being, it's like, I see that there is a demand, like I'm responding to the demand. Like, my business would not be in its fourth year if there was not people thirsty for, and they don't even necessarily recognize it as a primal urge, but it is. Like, every single one of them, I can see that they want some level of control over their own food.
Food uncertainty is like the most ancient human motivator ever. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, and you're quite right. Like, these plugged in Netflix enjoyers, potentially ourselves and our listeners included, like, it's hard to recognize it as a survival instinct, but this kind of like constant buzzing paranoia of like, what if the Walmart trucks don't arrive?
Yeah, man. Well, a little bit of comfort can be had thinking about how, like, I would say, I hate to say it, but it's probably true.
Say it, man.
9 out of 10 motherfuckers are just going to be so helpless and so confused and so helpless. They're just going to sit there and starve,
It's terrible. But yeah. They're going to be like, the government promised us food.
Yeah, where's my DoorDash, man?
No, it's gonna go. Where's my DoorDash to where's my rations?
Yeah, but there are those people that are going to be threatening and scary, and like, I have no doubt. So the soldiers. Okay, so I love this quote. I think it summarizes it well. But it's like, it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in the war.
Oh, absolutely. I that is going in my book, Defensive Warfare Against the State, and definitely that's something I repeat very often. And it's something I'm trying to like communicate to my like-minded, gun nuts. I'm like,
so like me, I'm a gardener and I need to learn to be a soldier, right? A little bit. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But those soldiers out there need to fucking learn to garden. It's just straight up true. If you want to provide, I honestly think it's natural. Like, Samuel fucking Adams, man, he grew the food, and he had a family, and the woman took care of the kids, and he provided the food.
Oh, in my household, the ladies gonna be
examples, but like,
no. My lady has the green thumbs. I'm just there with a rifle.
Yeah, well, you need to learn to get the green thumbs.
No, I know.
Work the goddamn mule and fucking move the dirt, man.
You're quite right. No, I don't give myself enough credit. My dad's like a crazy gardener. He's now in New Zealand, retired with like a whole homestead and growing his own weed and shit. It's incredible. He's a better agorist than most people I know, but without knowing it. But no, I definitely need to step it up, and so many other people do too.
Well, man, it just ain't that hard,
No,
like,
absolutely.
You just have to be attuned. You have to, like anything else, man. You got to be attuned. You got to be with it. You got to know your plants. You got to care for it.
Yeah. I think for us, the Southwest has not been kind.
Good luck
It's
out
different.
there.
Learning out here.
West, man, I'm telling you, I'm here for a reason. Like, that shit's gonna dry up. Well, it's already dried up. Is the thing.
Yeah, that is a long-term concern of ours. I was just talking about that in a Q&A the other day. Someone's like, "Oh, what's your long-term plan for Arizona with the water?" I was like, "Well, it's unfortunately probably not going to be Arizona."
Well, I'd head east before I headed west. I'll tell you that.
I love the West, man. I love the cowboy shit, but it's hard to eat out here.
Yeah, well, so
or it's gonna be
partly. I do have my like bug out plan for if the population is more of the problem in the short term, bugging out to the desert it's an option. I lived out there for a while. I know the canyons a little bit. I know some places, like I know some people. More importantly, I know some people. That's the big thing. But that's last fucking resort. Frankly, here I have people that I can be useful to them, and they can be useful to me. We already have a network. We already have, like a broad network. And I think that's, again, what people should really think about. Even before starting your garden, like meet a couple of producers and buy their food. It's just, it's going to be expensive, man, but just shut your mouth and buy it. Like, it's worth it. It is, like, it's going to taste 10 times better. And,
you'd be like, "Oh wow, real food."
Yeah. because they're not going to sell it to people they don't know at a certain point. Like the small farmers in your county that have 20 or 30 cattle and a dozen pigs and a flock of geese and a flock of turkeys and chickens, if they don't know you, they're going to tell you to fuck off.
Yeah.
I mean,
depending on your state, they might not say it with words if everything goes to shit. Yeah.
Off my lawn, motherfucker. You know? Yeah. So you need to build those relationships, and you need to provide like value to them in some way.
Yeah, that's the other thing. When everyone's like, "Oh, I'm coming to your house," if everything goes to shit. Don't be that guy. Yeah. No, stay the fuck home. I love you, but don't come here.
Okay, we can have that chat. So, like, what are you offering?
Yeah.
And frankly, nobody's coming here because I live in a garage in the middle of the city, but I have my secret places.
Yeah,
and my people who I just know because I've basically built a mutualistic relationship where I provide value to them, they provide it back. You know, and I have a camper and I have my own means.
That's a great thing to have in this kind of era. Just that flexibility to be like, well, I've got a place to sleep.
Man, when I rented this this workshop is cheap as shit. Okay, I'm keeping my overhead super low, but like when I rented it, I saw it for what it is. It's like it's a place for my shit. It's dry. It's warm. It's, you know, like I won't die while I'm living here, but it's a place for me to basically bug out from if necessary or whenever I so choose. Like I take road trips whenever I fucking need to. And so yeah, it's there's different ways. You know, I joke about being like a nomad gardener because I don't have a garden of my own. I maintain other people's gardens.
That's perfect, really.
Yeah, so I get to leave and they take care of their shit and I come back a month later and like it's not dead.
Yeah.
If the day ever came, I have 20 people who I've curried favor with in the city, not to mention a couple of like other folks out in the country. And I don't know. I say it's like not everybody's permaculture looks the same. Not everybody's anarchism or agorism looks the same. Like you gotta build these connections yourself. I don't care if you're a programmer, a doctor, you know, you name it. Like, but food should be a priority, whether or not you can grow it where you live. Like, find it within 20 miles, or you're gambling. You know.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, no, that problem solving is exactly what, if someone fancies himself an agorist, like you have to be that problem solver. And these days, not only is it like a good survival tool, but it can be fucking profitable if you're clever about it. Like I know a guy, I forget his Twitter at, but he's an agorist in Norway, and he grows like tobacco leaves and a bunch of other stuff in his basement and like sells it on the black market, and it's fucking killer. The guy, he makes good money. Like if you're a practicing agorist who is serious about that shit,
oh, you've already started. You're already there. If you have something you're selling on the gray or black market, like you're doing it. Yep, you're doing it. Yeah.
Thank your local drug dealer.
Yeah, every pot dealer I ever had, it's like, what a good example.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, thank you for your service, because it's you know, I wouldn't say it's a thankless job, but it's a little bit dangerous. We'll say that.
Well, I mean, you have to run from cops. You're a part-time therapist. There's a lot of it's difficult. I can't imagine.
Full-time pal for me. I've had my pot dealer on like 3 times.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, he goes by Dr. Green Dust. That's his podcast alias.
Incredible.
Yeah. He's a good dude.
Oh, that stuff is fascinating. But
I like I said, like if you're really unfamiliar with, you know, the idea of permaculture, it's a big concept, but there's some really good books. And once you start to change sort of the way you think about things, it's the problems kind of like sort themselves out. Like I said, hey, get like 5-6 chickens. That's awesome if you can do that. Like fuck all the rest. eggs. If you got eggs, you're still breathing.
Yeah. No. Seriously. Is there anything on that note? Is there anything that comes to mind that would be easy to grow for chickens?
Well, they want to peck and scratch and get at bugs. Okay, so if you have enough room, you can kind of move them around and give them different patches of grass, like every couple days, and that goes actually a long way in cutting their feed costs. It's not 100%, but the best thing to grow for chickens, as far as I know, is soldier fly larvae. You actually, you're growing your food's food.
Yeah.
And I've never done it, but yeah, you're almost just like, I don't think it requires a whole lot of input, like, because they're freshly hatched larvae. You just like, I think you order the little like pupa or whatever, and it's frozen. I don't know if that's, I can't remember what the right word is, but yeah, you feed them little baby bugs. It's gross, but
hey, I mean that's really good, because if the World Economic Forum comes knocking, you'd be like, hey, I'm just growing bugs here, like that.
Yeah.
No plants. Well,
and like a big concept in permaculture is function stacking. So like, hey, maybe soldier fly larvae is one thing, but if you do what's known as vermiculture, which is worm composting in bins, you can propagate worms like crazy. You can sell them for bait, $3 for a little thing of fresh night crawlers, right? Actually, you tend to want red wrigglers, not night crawlers, but point remains. But then you can feed the excess worms to your chickens too. There's a million ways to like stack functions, and one thing feeds the next. Different plants are really good for them. Like I said, white mulberry, different grasses and things like that. But yeah,
no, I love that. And because that was something I'm shifting into a spot where I can really kickstart doing a lot of this stuff, and planning some kind of move of some description soon. But yeah, it's regardless of where that is or how it goes, the ultimate plan is to be able to do more of this stuff. So I've been really thinking about that, raising food for your food kind of thing, and it's good to hear someone's input on it. But
hey, if you're staying in the desert, you might look into, I believe it's like a movie, but it's called Greening the Desert. Jeff Lawton. Jeff with a G, Geoff or whatever the fuck.
Well, if you ask me, that name is Geff, but we will go by his
Geff.
His name, Geff.
He's a limey or something. I don't know. He's from.
There it is.
I think he's a Kiwi. I think he's a Kiwi.
Greening the desert, right?
Yeah, Greening the Desert would be worth checking out. Yeah.
No, seriously.
They took a bare patch of dirt in like 4 or 5 years and made it lush.
I used to watch stuff about that with the Middle East. Like they were doing stuff like that with the growing, cities like Dubai and all that. They were trying to green the desert and make oases, like man-made oases and stuff. Fuck knows if they managed it, but lots of experimentation with that going on. But
yeah.
There's
tons of information. You just have to know where to look. Hit it all.
The last thing, maybe I made a World Economic Forum joke, but your comment about the yin and yang of Childeberg really got me. with the World Economic Davos conference.
Yeah,
it's like I think and we've touched on this a little bit this episode, but I think for the longest time things have been kind of imbalanced in terms of like people like us making plans and building community and stuff, because too many people have been, I think, not ready to hear this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But what you were talking about, this kind of spiritual rebalancing or whatever of the yin to the yang of that stuff going on. I'm so glad these things are starting to happen more and more frequently, and that we're building connections like this between different parts of this wide community. But is there anything else kind of in your wheelhouse that you'd like to direct people towards?
I like the question. So, okay, before I answer the question, I'll say just a thought I had. It's almost like we're few in numbers at this point, right? Just like them, there's not many of them either.
Yeah.
There's not many of them either. The difference is they have resources, okay? Like a shitload of resources.
Like all the resources. damn near. But no.
So we have to understand where our advantages lie, okay? And I think our advantage lies in our logic, which I believe is sound, and our grassroots abilities and networks, the primal shit, man. They are dependent on their freaking private jets and, security personnel. And it's like Fight Club, man. Just getting people everywhere, man. I hate to say it, but we need to be able to flip the switch one day and say no more. But we have to build up to that in a peaceful and safe kind of way, if possible. And shoot, does that all make sense? I feel like
no. That I really like that. I think right now, and this is what so many people kind of have, that when do we go attitude, and it's no. Build your own thing, build it out, and hope that you have as much time as they will give you.
Well, frankly, I almost think if the time to go comes, we're all gonna know it. If you catch my drift, maybe not, but who knows? There might be little things here and there, might not be all at once. But the last thought I'd give you to answer the question, excuse me.
No, my question was rambly, so no worries.
No, I heard it fully. The last thing I would give people, if I can, right? The last tidbit of knowledge or whatever. I'm fascinated by the idea of flow theory or flow states. Have you ever heard this term?
Flow state as in being ultra productive and stuff?
Yeah, or just productivity is one thing, but just high performance. So whatever that happens to be.
Yeah.
Playing the violin or doing long division. I don't fucking give a fuck. When you're in flow, you're at peak performance in a sense. And I always drive home that it's a simple concept that most people just have never given a lot of thought to. But in essence, I like to try to say that it's you're either in flow or you're out of flow. It's pretty one or the other. And most wild animals exist in a damn near constant state of flow. Okay. Except when they're in pure fight or flight, or in the rare cases where they're incredibly bored, because I always try to paint the picture, and I'll try to do it, concisely here, but
take your time, man. We got all the time in the world.
Okay. Well, imagine a graph, right? Two planes, vertical, horizontal, and you've got this bar running diagonally from the apex, out into infinity, right? And that bar is called flow. And the vertical axis is, I got to take my time, make sure I get this right. Vertical axis is challenge. Horizontal axis is skill. Okay. And this flow channel that you your brain and your body want to be in. It's when you don't have cortisol or adrenaline or too much fucking serotonin or whatever. You're there, you're in the zone. And I think you're born there and you stay there until you start kind of getting these sort of peaks and valleys, if you will, right? Little blips of anxiety and boredom. And as we grow older, so if you imagine on this graph, right? So above the flow chart is anxiety, below is boredom, right? Boredom is where your challenge is not met by your skills. Anxiety is where your skills are inadequate for the challenge. And every time you leave that flow channel and you experience either anxiety or boredom, it kind of throws you off of your groove, right? Makes you less productive, less
Potent.
proficient. And I imagine like a healthy human being kind of is a smooth little squiggle working its way through this flow channel. Maybe occasionally having some anxiety or some boredom, but not very fucking often. Because there's important shit to be done. And there's cool people to chill with when the work is done, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to experience. We're not supposed to be these solitary, anxious, bored motherfuckers, right? Like, the average American goes through this life on this graph and just ping pongs back and forth. Or the worst thing, and it's what we call like mental illness, beyond just the run-of-the-mill case of bipolar disorder that goes undiagnosed, is when you get kind of stuck. Like, either you're an extreme bipolar and you really bounce between the two, or you're within like the healthy norm, or you get stuck in anxiety and you spiral down into like pure like paranoia, mania, or you get stuck in fucking boredom and you spiral down into deep, deep depression. But like, a healthy person shouldn't have to feel those things very often. Yeah. So I impart that like the importance of understanding flow is learning how to experience it and stay in it. And, I used to be a pretty anxious, like socially anxious person, right? I think we all have social anxiety, but like, I've kind of learned to move beyond it by learning not to give so much of a fuck, first of all.
Likewise, yeah.
And,
dealt with it for years.
Yeah. But like, by staying in flow, I'm way more fun to be around. I'm way more personable. Like, so I think if you can kind of like learn what flow is, what it feels like, and how to stay there, that can do more good for you than fucking damn near anything else I could tell you about food or otherwise. Like, what about fucking flow, man?
Wonderfully said. I 100% agree. And this is something, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Kerry Wedler, but it's something she touches on a lot with what she talks about with kind of, you have to heal yourself before you can, like help others find their way in life with, liberty and all the rest of it. Like, if you're a person with that kind of stuff going on and you're kind of not operating at 100% of your potential, or you're not 100% really you because you've become trapped in either side of that paradigm, it really fucks with your ability. And that comes before, like, getting yourself right comes before being able to get good at stuff, really. You have to be 100% of you. So
yeah, but again, I would say, like, in permaculture terms, let's stack functions. So how do you get yourself right? I think you get yourself right by finding the people that you need to find. Because you can't fucking be happy by yourself. You can't exist in this agorist world that we might be heading towards. This world where basically, if you don't have a network, you're fucked.
Seriously.
Right?
You gotta have community, whatever that looks like, whatever you call it.
So like, one feeds into the other by doing this, by going to events, or so I think a useful tool is it's Freedom Cells.
Yes.
.org, not .com. freedomcells.org. You can meet liberty-minded, like agorist, anarchist type folks through Freedom Cells. But, like I said, even just going to the farmer's market, making a habit out of doing that twice a month, getting on a first name basis with some folks. You'd be surprised how like-minded some of these people might be.
Yeah, whether they have the labels or not.
Yep, exactly. And when it comes down to it, like, who cares what you called yourself? Like, where are we now?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, you might not even announce yourself as some like hardcore anything. You just be friendly. Just be, make friends, man.
Friendly and interested.
Really friends that will be beneficial and like useful. Not it sounds terrible to say, like, but I believe in the idea of mutualism. You don't have to use somebody, but like, if you're useful to them and they're useful to you, what else is a friendship?
Well, yeah, we're social creatures. We should have some kind of skill with making things happen that way.
Right.
Well, part of the human experience. Well,
yeah, man.
Any last words on all that, man?
I think I said all I needed to say. Listen to the Easy Peasy podcast.
Wonderful.
There's some shit there that I'm sure some of your audience would definitely enjoy. I'm not a full-blown hippie, but a lot of grass, and I drink a lot of Miller Lite. I'm only half slurring here. You'll hear me slur occasionally, but I always try to give you something worth chewing on. And I'm actually going to be going on the Survival podcast in about a month.
Fuck yeah.
July 24th. If you haven't ever listened, Jack Spirko, he's a big name in the community, and I'll be talking about similar stuff as I am here, now, but probably won't be quite as tipsy.
Yeah. Oh, you can get drunk on my show, but not Jack Spirko's. All right. All right.
It's all about context, man. It's it's like gotta keep it real here,
No, I respect it.
Harley, man, this is what you get when you catch me at 10 o'clock. So
no, honestly, my audience is used to it. If I'm not smoking one while I'm talking, they don't know what show they're listening to. So, all right.
Well, I'm cranking up for the both of us, man. So
beautiful. I smoked before I came on, but all right. You heard it. Easy Peasy podcast. Check it out. Very similar to this show, but a lot more gardening stuff, ecological. Yeah, and the man on the street stuff. I really dig that. I might have to.
Yeah, that's been fun too. Yeah. Get a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Variety hour. All right. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Peace.